Here we go. And here
it is here, the Thearly Clinking video podcast and podcast.
Okay, apparently we're good.
Now there's some echoing going on. Don't worry, we're not having technical difficulties. I don't know what you're talking about. Welcome to the Thearly Clinking podcast. I'm one of the hosts here.
The host. I'm just
one of the hosts. You gotta listen to the whole statement. Yeah. So we're here gonna talk about nostalgia games. We got TJ to my right, Ron Burgundy to the further right, Judge Dredd behind us, and the Guardians of the Galaxy.
Except for Star-Lord. Star-Lord's not in this picture.
No, fuck Star-Lord. Anyway, so moving on. How was your week, TJ? What'd you do, gaming, nerdy wise?
I didn't get to game this much this week. I was really, really busy, especially with starting this new job.
Right.
It was kind of hard because I'm still working. I'm working 2 jobs right now. I've got no weekend for like the next month. So.
Yeah. See what you mean. Yeah, like it's been kind of that way with me too. I went from playing like Heroes of the Storm and Hearthstone, everything every day, to just every once in a while. So like this week was really, really bleh for me. I managed to just I was just doing other things that weren't video game related, because sometimes you gotta take a break. Sometimes you gotta be like, you know what, I think I'm playing too much. Gotta stay away from that. So there were a couple days where I just didn't play video games and really go on the internet, other than for work purposes.
I did finally. So I had Arkham Origins downloaded for like the longest time on my computer and did not know it. So okay. I finally popped it up and started playing it. Because I figured out what was wrong with my Xbox One controller.
All
Apparently,
right.
Do not plug it into a USB port.
USB 3.0?
Yeah, you just moved us.
I did.
I'm the only important one.
Fixed.
Okay.
No problem.
Yeah, there's something wrong. Apparently, there's just something. It doesn't like USB 3.0. It like only certain games will pick it up. Like Dead Space 2 didn't have a problem for some reason picking it up.
Huh.
But when I went to go play Borderlands or like Wolfenstein, I always go like in circles because it always goes like the last direction kind of thing.
Right.
So that was pretty. So eventually, I started playing Batman Arkham Origins, and I was like, really. There's just something. It's Kevin Conroy that he voices Batman, right?
Yeah, as the normal voice actor.
And then as soon as I was playing Arkham Origins, and I was just like, as soon as I didn't hear like Kevin Conroy, like they got somebody else to voice Batman in Arkham Origins.
Okay.
And it's just it's not the same.
Yeah.
It's not the same.
Well, they got Troy Baker to do the Joker.
But Troy Baker can sound like Mark Hamill.
And,
that's the difference.
I'm trying to think of who they got for Batman. I can't remember.
They got one of the guys that DC normally picks up for like the animated movies.
Yeah. It was one of the guys from the animated movies. There
was just something different about it when it came to like Arkham, the Batman games.
Yeah.
Because I was suspecting.
I think I had a problem with it for a little bit, but I got used to it and played through the game, and I actually really enjoyed Origins. I thought Origins was one of the.
It's not
some stronger boss battles anyway than some of the other ones.
I started playing. The thing I hated though is when I was trying to go to the Penguin, I kept dying because of the guns.
I did it a lot too.
And the thing is that pissed me off about the Penguin level is that when you try to get into the ship the first time, it spawns you right on top of the ship, and then you have to go back.
Gotcha.
And then you got to come back. I was a little disappointed. The Deathstroke battle was kind of kicking my ass because I
like that one though.
But the thing is I was hitting Y too quickly, and I was thinking I was have to look for something, but I didn't know that they actually just prompted you and told you to hit Y. So that's the reason why it was taking me a little bit. But I thought the Deathstroke battle. I haven't gotten that far. I just thought the Deathstroke battle came a little too early. I thought he would have been more of like one of the end guys. I don't know if he comes back.
Not really.
No.
Not really. Deathstroke was just kind of a part of the game.
Because Deathstroke, I mean, in the DC universe, he's just...
Yeah, they I don't know, they didn't give him a whole lot, but yeah, he's definitely important in that game. Like, there's I think he does come back, maybe? I don't remember.
My favorite part, though, so far is, like, when they like, you know, they always do, like, the villain entrances?
Yeah.
And then Executioner just comes down and is like, ah! And then Batman just goes, boom!
Yeah.
And knocks him out.
Destroys him really quickly. That's great. Yeah, there's little things like that in that game that are pretty cool.
So it was a good game. It was good for what I played. I mean, it wasn't like terrible. It's a Batman Arkham game, so I'm gonna wait a little bit to pick up Arkham Knight. I'm gonna wait till it just goes down in price.
Arkham Knight, yeah, I'm waiting on that one for sure. I don't know if I want to even try running it on my PC yet. So
no, I'm gonna wait for all the PC glitches to be fixed, anyways.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's true. They're saying that it's not gonna be fixed for another month, so yeah, it's gonna be a little while before I play that one. I want to finish Witcher 3, and that's gonna take me a while, so I'll probably just be focusing on that. There's lots of content for it, so that works. And I'm kind of stuck on Diablo 3 too lately. I've just been playing that one quite a bit, which is weird because I haven't played Diablo since it came out, so it was just kind of one of those things I just started picking up the past couple months, and have started playing more and more. It's been really cool. Just gear hunting and I don't know, playing my barbarian, smacking demons and shit.
Well, I picked up, like, with all the Quake stuff, you know, they're having a Quake sale on Steam. I picked up Rage again. Like, I own it for the PlayStation 3, but I don't like dragging my PlayStation 3 out.
I haven't even been on Steam.
So I picked that up for about, like, less than $20. And I picked up Subnautica, you know? Subnautica. It's that one. Remember that one that with Vitch Sega was like, hey, go watch this guy. And we're like, oh, let's go watch the Subnautica video.
Gotcha. So it's like underwater.
You know Far Sky?
Far Sky. Yeah.
So it's like what Far Sky wanted to be, but I found out it's not actually on Earth. It's on an alien planet.
All right. And we've got penis in the chat. That is a straight-faced penis. Welcome to the chat. Welcome to the chat, buddy.
What is his name? It don't look like it doesn't come out very well if the chat's not
well,
like.
If
the chat is stretched out, it doesn't work too well.
That's ASCII art for you. ASCII art penis is
I got one of
Twitch thing.
I got one of Patrick Stewart in the face palm. It's like one of my favorite ones.
Yeah.
But no, that was and then I picked. Then I pretty much just been doing as much Hearthstone as I could. I finally got a Paladin deck that was level 15 material, but it's not gonna get me anywhere else.
I haven't broke 15 this season.
Really?
I'm an awful person. No, I just haven't played it.
I was like, usually you're always like in 10 and 12.
I played it till 15, like early on in the season, and then I just like haven't played very much this month. So we'll see. I'll probably do some final stretch runs on it tomorrow. Get the day off, so might as well.
You took my day off, you freaking bastard. You know how busy it's gonna be tomorrow?
Yeah, I don't care. Yeah, man. Do you like older games? Do you ever when you're playing a new game now, like ever be like, hey, I wish this was like, you know, that one older game that was good when I was a kid, and why is it not like that right now? You ever get that feeling?
No, I'm not a hipster.
Oh, you don't get that feeling.
No,
I get that feeling all the time when I'm playing. Yeah.
Like, you're going back to Diablo 3. Have you ever gone back and played Diablo 1 and 2 recently?
To be honest with you, I haven't played Diablo 1 and 2 extensively enough to even get, like, I get some of it, but, like, I really never played those games extensively enough to really get that feeling. Diablo 3 was the first Diablo game that I played extensively, so it'd be fun to go back and try them. I've thought about it. Someone brought it up the other day that I was talking to about like some of the quirks in Diablo 2 in terms of like how slow it was or something, and I wanted to go back to it just to see, but we'll see.
That's where the famous "there is no cow" level came from, right?
Yeah.
Diablo 2.
Yeah.
I love how Blizzard's one of my favorite companies because they're constantly feeding the nostalgia. Like one of the Hearthstone has one of my favorite cards just because it's a cheat code in StarCraft 1.
Power Overwhelming?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is just...
It's a Warlock card. It's pretty mean.
Is that the invincible one for StarCraft?
Yeah, it's the invincibility cheat. Yeah, make you ridiculously overpowered. I remember doing that just to get through the campaign because I'd be like, I don't want to play this level. And just do those cheats.
Just like... And then there is no cow level would automatically win the game.
Yep, I remember that. I remember, like, I'd be more willing to do Power Overwhelming because I wouldn't feel like I was cheating as bad.
Instead of so doing... invincible troops.
Yeah, So like I'd rather have invincible troops instead of
What was
instant win. Instant win wasn't fun.
What was the code for 1,000 minerals and 1,000 gas?
I don't remember.
I don't remember.
It was been a long time.
But I just like how we're talking about nostalgia today. I think nostalgia is a pretty good thing. Like I love it when companies honestly just feed into that instead of forget about things.
Yeah.
Call of Duty. I know a lot of people hate Call of Duty, but Call of Duty constantly. Black Ops.
People hate everything.
What?
A lot of people hate everything.
Because people are negative. There's no love.
Well, it's because there are people out there that they don't like to experience life. They like to complain, and that's what they do.
Like the one thing I love about I know Treyarch, the developer, is that they're constantly about nostalgia. They always bring home. They're always hitting back to the older Call of Duties, things like that. Hell, I bought a $200 fridge just for nostalgia purposes.
Right. Gotcha.
So I mean, it's a good kind of good
marketing
thing.
For sure.
Yes, marketing.
You're gonna buy $200 fridges.
Nostalgia.
I definitely wouldn't do that.
We auction your childhood off.
I have a hard time. With the expensive Uber $200 I don't know.
Dude,
if
I bought it.
I spend that much for just a game.
I bought it mostly just because it came with a mini fridge.
That's pretty neat.
So it wasn't like I was just going hey look, I got $200 special edition over here. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. It's true.
But generally, we're just trying to. If anybody's in the chat watching right now, we're just trying to talk about the good old days of just memories, things like that. Because one of the games that we tend to bring up here mostly is at least yes, another tally. If we could, just have that still. I know it's stolen from PlayStation, but Metal Gear. Yep. Metal Gear is one that constantly feeds into its own nostalgia. Metal Gear is like a nostalgia generating machine. You would know that better than anybody else, especially when you came to playing Peace Walker, right?
Yep.
How many throwbacks did that have? Did you ever play the original Metal Gears before Solid?
Yes. They come bundled with the special version of Snake Eater, and that's the first time I actually played with them. So. And then there's an old NES one that I played on an emulator a while back, and that one is the I Feel Asleep and whatnot. That was pretty good. I like those games, and there's definitely a lot of throwback to those in the Metal Gear series. That's something that I've noticed they did very well, even though Metal Gear wasn't necessarily I don't know, for me at least, it definitely wasn't popular or even heard of in my neck of the woods, being a even retro gamer. I didn't really get into Metal Gear until it came out on PlayStation. So
that's I didn't even hear I don't think anybody really. I know the Metal Gear Solid games, the Metal Gear games were popular, but they didn't really become popular. I don't think it became popular until Kojima was actually able to add voice acting. Yeah. Because some of those. One example of nostalgia being bad is I was watching the level where this is you can tell Kojima's just freaking crazy as hell.
Right.
Because he's all oh, you gotta go trick the security system and thinking it's nighttime. Oh, gotta go find an owl recording because apparently the security system just thinks when an owl hoots it's nighttime even though it's bright day.
Crazy.
And then we should design a security system that turns off during the night because that's when we feel the most.
There it goes.
Are there any games that our guys from over at Reviews of the World asked favorite RPGs that you find are we not come through?
Favorite RPGs?
Yeah, your favorite nostalgic RPGs. You did A Link to the Past, and you always constantly watching Game Grumps.
Yeah. No, my favorite RPG of all time is Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past. I mean it's not even just RPG, but favorite classic game would be that one. I think my favorite traditional Japanese RPG is Final Fantasy VI. But as far as favorite RPG of all time, Legend of Zelda, because it's got the action elements. So it's I feel like I can pick it up and play it for a little while, and then I'll just put it down. Whereas Final Fantasy, there's it's all meta focus. It's I've got to know what I want my characters to do or be. There's more strategy and more thinking involved and analyzing. Whereas Zelda, you're in the action. You pick up the thing, you start using it, you learn how to use it by using it. You don't just They don't just say, this is how you do it. I mean, occasionally they're like, yeah, just press the A button, you set a bomb. And then you go and you do it, and then you realize like all the little nuances and quirks on each weapon. And that's what was great about it, was like it would give you little introductions, like, yeah, you press a button to do this, but then it wouldn't like tell you any more. And then you'd find out, oh, I can pick this up. Oh, you can like spread this magic dust on these things that you think.
Dust,
yeah, so you get. So later, like part of the game, you get these pixie dust, and you can spread it on what are called like anti-fairies or non-fairies. I forget what they're called. But there's these like flaming things that circle around the room, and for the longest time, I didn't know you could do anything with them. But you can actually spread magic pixie dust on them and then turn into actual fairies, and then you can put them in your bottle, catch them in your net, whatever you need to do. But yeah, there's like little quirks to that you just figure out as you play. Or look up online, and I love that in terms of game design. But it's just like that. Anytime I play a game nowadays, like that's one of the games back in my childhood that I always constantly get reminded of and really enjoy.
Do you think games have gotten better, or like this actually a little too complicated over the years?
It's not that they have gotten more complicated, because I look at games like Dark Souls. And I see just a lot of these old mechanics, and the only difference is now you're just on a 3D plane. You're like graphically, it's just you're seeing more. There's more detail, but literally, like in terms of combat systems and whatnot, really not super technical. Dark Souls, I guess there's the guard, and there's all these like frame things. So yeah, maybe it's gotten a little more complicated for sure, but not a whole lot though. I think like at their core, very much the same, or it's just like there's a lot of like I guess nowadays there's a lot of fluff. Is what I'm trying to say.
Not as much substance, like
not as much substance.
Platformers, yeah. Like I think the one thing I'm gonna be a little old here. Like I'm gonna consider nostalgic PlayStation 1. I think PlayStation 1's been around long enough to consider. Yeah. I mean, almost a lot of
PlayStation 1 launched in '96, so that would be nostalgic.
I've been playing for over 20 years. I am now considered an old gamer. Yep. Not as old as some, but
absolutely.
So, because I can still remember the good old 8-bit days from Sega. Gosh, I just lost my train of thought. I was trying to.
But speaking of Sega, like there were some really good Sega Genesis games.
Sonic.
Like Sonic the Hedgehog, which is weird. Like that was one of those games that is just like, as soon as it hit the Dreamcast, they just stopped like not saying that Adventure, like I think Sonic Adventures were the last like couple of good games, but I'm pretty biased on those ones. So I've gone back and I've free-watched playthroughs and played through those games and realized all of their flaws. They are super glitchy, buggy, like...
Do you think nostalgia kind of affects our opinion? Like, we've just got these, like, as kids, we're always constantly like, oh, this was so fantastic.
Yeah. Well, in a way, it's like, if you look at these older games, they're tighter. They're, like, especially Super Nintendo...
They had to be tighter.
Especially Super Nintendo era. Like, you're not going to find a lot of glitches in, like, any of the Super Mario World games.
Well, we just watched the speed run of Donkey Kong Country.
You're right. And, like, you're just not going to find as many glitches or hang-ups in some of these older games. Not that they aren't there, it's just there's not as many, because, like, game design-wise and even gameplay-wise, they're tight. They're good. And then when they moved on to that 3D era, it just turned into, like, a mess. Like, if you watch people speedrun any Nintendo 64 games, those games get broken. Like you're literally, like, within a few seconds, part of the speedrun is them glitching through a wall to get somewhere. Whereas, like...
Fallout 3's filled with those.
Yeah.
Like, constantly just, like... The thing with Fallout 3 is now, because it's not such... It's a good game, but like some of the mechanics are just not tightly built, because you can like you can continuously walk while the game's loading.
Right. And I think a lot of it's just kind of hard to build around.
Kind of thing, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the games had to be tighter back then, because you didn't have like all the fancy graphics go, ooh, that's fantastic. You didn't have like all these guns, things like that. Like platformers today, I don't think are really, really tight. As tight as they used to be.
Agreed.
Because one thing, I'm going to be a nostalgia critic, like as soon as Naughty Dog lost the rights to Crash Bandicoot, like we were watching earlier on the summer games done quick.
Right.
Is that they really just kind of they didn't stick with the type mechanics.
Right.
They were like, and they started adding these storylines. They
Like,
started
way
getting all
back
these voice
when.
acting, things like that. And like Crash Bandicoot was never about the voice acting. You know, I think who actually does hi Canadian Smacks. Do you smack Canadians? Sorry, he just said hi, so I just.
Oh, hey, how's it going, Canadian Smacks?
We're talking about nostalgia for any games that
nostalgia games, like just kind of games that like, or even like how it affects games nowadays. Like, is that feeling of nostalgia?
Nintendo it affects almost everything Nintendo does because they are like they're a nostalgic generator.
Yeah, and then like with HD remakes and stuff, like it's just, hey, let's put out the same game again, charge you for it. Like,
well, yeah, people.
Thank you for following Canadian Smacks.
Well, actually, HD remakes, that's a good point because that is actually a good, vital business.
It's viable because, like, really what it is it's like, well, we know this is successful, and if we can essentially, I mean, re-release it, make it prettier, and,
why not?
And these same people who bought it before are going to buy it again.
And then October, I'm going to spend money on it.
It also gives more people an opportunity to purchase it as well. So people that missed out on that and they want to get into it, they can now get into it. And then what it does is it reopens those old games or that old gameplay style to a new generation. And now you've got more people in that market, and it's way good.
It actually really helps with like a lot of the people that just came over to PlayStation are now able to experience God of War 3 because they just bought a new PlayStation 4, and then come October they're going to experience Uncharted 3 too.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's just okay. Canadian Smack. We're just talking about today's podcast. Every week we kind of generally choose a broad topic that we want to talk about. We're talking about nostalgia games. What are some of your favorite nostalgic games? Can nostalgia ruin games today? Like, one thing I've always, like, as a kid, you kind of always, like, can they ruin or improve? Because as a kid, you just have these awesome memories because as a kid, you're not as judgmental about some of the stuff that's kind of being done. Or can it, what are some games you'd like to see that come back? Yeah. Things like that. I would love some, like, I love watching these games done quick. I'm, like, addicted to them now. Because mostly just because, not because of the speed runs, just because of nostalgia. Exactly. That's why I watch it, too. Because it's, like, you go on Twitch, it's like, it's all League of Legends, oh my god. And then you see these speedrunners, and you're like, oh, good. It's not League of Legends. And then you start learning, and you learn more about these old games. You're like, what the shit? Well, yeah, we just learned about Donkey Kong had warp portals. Yeah, I didn't even know there were warp barrels in Donkey Kong 3, but yeah, I also never paid a whole lot of attention to it, but yeah, I didn't even know those were there. And I might have at one point maybe picked up a Nintendo Power and it explained that, but I didn't care or pay attention. So yeah. Anyway, but yeah, no, like I think just from what I've noticed and just to me, because I look at games that have games that pay attention to the nostalgia and kind of try to bring some of these mechanics back are the ones that are most successful in my opinion. Like games like Shovel Knight, really good. I mean, that's a really great games that call back to nostalgia. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Just call back to nostalgia. Games like Dark Souls. Those Dark Souls games are totally just Castlevania. Yeah, it's all right. And yeah, it's just like it's really cool to see developers do that and play to these old mechanics that we all enjoy and we know that are kind of familiar, but they're also just kind of a fresh coat of paint in a way. Which apparently we don't like nostalgia as much in movies because everybody complains about nostalgia in movies. What do you mean? Like, because the funny thing is like, hey, look, they're gonna remake Ghostbusters, and everybody's like, boo. Oh, okay, I got you. So remakes are different though than to me. Well, I guess I see what you mean. Like so, they're gonna remake this thing, and it's like, I like the original. Don't ruin it. And so that makes sense. If you really like adore something that's older, why are people remaking it? Just re-release the old one. That's all Nintendo's ever done, though. Yeah, and they've seemed to do a lot better at it than. Yeah, well, Nintendo, weirdly enough, they don't really remake it. They just re-release old stuff. Maybe HD re-release, but they don't. They've never I've never seen them remake. Well, I guess they remade the Ocarina of Time. Never mind. Yeah. Point out the window. You said remakes.
Or sometimes not. They are.
What is
I think
the other three?
it's the remakes of movies that I was referring to is usually not quite as good. But depending on what they're remaking.
Well, I guess the best thing that Hollywood's tend to... we're talking about nostalgia in general. We started off in video games, but it can actually honestly apply to pretty much anything. I think the best thing for nostalgia when it comes to movies isn't necessarily remakes, because for some reason, movies is a little bit broader general. The general public doesn't like, oh, I don't want to go experience all that again kind of thing. I think the best callbacks are like continuations. Because I know we like to fanboy about this movie a lot. I'm going to bring out Mad Max Fury Road.
Mm-hmm.
And that right there is showing how you can use nostalgia to do a lot of modern things.
Yeah.
Because I think if there's one thing that Mad Max did was kind of bring back a lot of the good old Western feels.
Yeah.
Kind of like the lone cowboy, kind of just trying to do the best.
I guess. I don't know. That was a really modern movie, but I see what you mean.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's nostalgic tropes, things like that. I think some tropes have been kind of lost over time, things like that. I mean, Jurassic Park keeps its nostalgia. Like, we saw Jurassic World.
Yeah. All
because
the Easter eggs.
Not only the Easter eggs, the fact that their science has been proven wrong, they're like, fuck you, we're still gonna...
We're just gonna do things unscientifically and what we were doing before. Which makes sense. You know, I mean, it keeps continuity with the series. I mean, the series has been...
Well, some people just tend to, like, throw nostalgia off to the side. I'm trying to think of there's some remakes out there that just kind of just throw things away. Like, I think Indiana Jones 4 did really good with nostalgia at the beginning.
I never watched that one. That one doesn't even exist.
Yes. I'm sorry.
As far as I'm concerned.
Never watched it. I didn't bring it up. It's,
yeah.
I don't have any salt, just if I need salt.
There's no salt. It was a lie.
Some of my Canadian Smacks is one of some of our favorite video games. I don't know if you brought it in the chat.
Ooh, my favorite video games. Okay, we discussed this a little bit earlier in the cast, but we can talk about it again. My favorite video games are usually on the RPG side or platformer side, so I like Mega Man a lot, the Mario games.
That's like some nostalgia Capcom hasn't touched for like a while, though.
Yeah, Mega Man just gets shafted. Which is why I think like Inafune went off and made his own Mega Man, because he's like, you know, you guys aren't gonna make it, I'm gonna make it. So it'll be cool. It'd be interesting to see. I don't see Mighty Number 9 as being as good as what Mega Man was. It doesn't look like it's gonna capture that, but it's gonna be good. Like, I think it'll be a decent platformer. I just don't think it's gonna be as good as, you know, I want it to be. And I just want to play classic Mega Man 2. I think that's what it is. I just want to play Mega Man 1 or Mega Man 2. So I'll go back and play those games. But, you know, it'd be kind of cool to play another one like that.
More nostalgia. The only reason why I'm picking up Metal Gear is because of nostalgia.
Absolutely.
Metal Gear 5.
I think Metal Gear, oh man.
We're fanboys on this cast. There's like three things that tend to like always come up.
I'll even defend Metal Gear Solid 2. Because I love that game.
That was actually kind of like...
Even if you hate Raiden.
That was kind of like the biggest smack to like nostalgia ever. Especially when they're just like, we're going to give you Snake, and then we're going to give you Raiden.
They sneak it in. They sneak in Raiden as the main character, which is so great. Because I think they even advertised it as Snake as the main character, or how they were advertising it.
They didn't release any footage before then.
I think like prior to the release, they released some stuff with Snake, and so everybody thought it was Snake. And then when it was released, like people, what the fuck is this shit? And there's Raiden and like his voice. And there's like some hilarious like weird and awkward scenes in that game too. That are just that was like one of the most. That's probably the most bizarre Metal Gear game out there, just because like the bosses, the story is so ridiculous. Like the first one's pretty crazy, but the second one just,
especially when all the AI is glitching. See, this is all the nostalgia talk. Like, if you got any favorite games, Canadian Smack. I don't know how long you've been playing video games. The great thing about nostalgia, though, also too, is that it's not really limited to like how long you've been around. Nostalgia is anything that's just pretty much you can call back to.
Yeah. Call back to your childhood and you played PlayStation 2. PlayStation 2 is pretty much nostalgia at this point, so...
That's nostalgia that's still the highest selling console of all time.
It's one of the best consoles. It's good. A lot of good games on there.
Ratchet and Clank. Oh
Absolutely.
That's some good.
I haven't played a lot of the Ratchet and Clank series, but I did remember liking those and Jak and Daxter. I picked it up for the Final Fantasy games, like Final Fantasy 10 and 12. A lot of people didn't really like those ones generally. Like, I think those aren't reviewed very well, but I really like.
Well, that's actually my friend actually enjoyed 10 and 10 too.
Yeah,
and that's actually some of the examples how nostalgia can ruin some games today.
Yeah, because I think that's something that happens with Final Fantasy series is people hold it to
7 constantly. Everybody.
What I love about Final Fantasy is there's always these throwbacks, these Easter eggs from the prior games. There's always those enemies that are named the same thing. You know, it's like, oh, this is so cool. Oh, it's a Chocobo again. There it is. You know, with a familiar face. But it's also like oh, but we got this new character. Oh, hey, look, there's a little like this dialogue hinted back at at one of the older characters from the other games. But they like with 10 and 12 and
can't always hold the things to nostalgia standards.
Yeah, I think the biggest issues is like after about 10 and they started really stepping away from a lot of the what made it Final Fantasy, and I think that's where the big criticism comes from. 10 was still turn based, which was cool and had a lot of the same moves. 12 did, but it became not even a class system, not even like there wasn't any like thing unique about any character. Like all the characters, I mean, they started unique, but then you just branch them out and make them all the same, or you can make them whatever, and it just like wasn't as cool. And then 13 kind of has this problem where it's like none of the characters are unique eventually, and it's like based on their summons, and it's like really. Like, it's only going to go this one way. There's no real choice. There's no... it's just straight line through the whole game, which kind of sucks. Even doing the side quests, it's like, like it's like they just kind of threw that in there. So, just to kind of add to the game, the game's really not, like, worth playing the hundreds of hours that it is.
Well, nostalgia kind of ruined Metal Gear 2 for me. I'm gonna say this right now. I may hate it. Because the thing is, it'd been a while since between Metal Gear 1 and Metal Gear 2. It wasn't like they were producing, like, sequels. I mean, the distance between Metal Gear 2 and Metal Gear 3 was a lot shorter than Metal Gear 1 and Metal Gear 2. Mm-hmm. So, by that time, I had already established nostalgia for Snake.
Okay.
And by the time I got up to the point where 2 was just like, Raiden! So that... I may hate Raiden, but Metal Gear 2 is still a really good solid game. And I can
Colonel, we managed to avoid drowning! Good job, Raiden. Just like little things like that. I need scissors 61.
Mission failed.
Fission mailed.
Oh yeah.
It'd be the fission mailed.
The whole entire
yeah. And then you're not dead.
Actually, the whole entire. You know what? That game actually called back to nostalgia because the final boss fight, even though it was a melee boss fight.
Well, the whole point of that game was it was like they were recreating the
feel. It was
the feel of the story in that game was that they were trying to recreate the same experience for Raiden as they did with Snake. So Raiden, it was kind of like a training exercise for Raiden, which is really fucked up.
Yeah, that game is like don't even think about that.
The most fucked up, convoluted plot, but yeah, it was like some training sequence for Raiden to go through the same pain, the same things that Snake had felt,
and then they stopped using them. Real quick, I'm going to say hi to Wild Weapon.
Exactly. How's it going, Wild Weapon?
If you're wondering what we're talking about nostalgia today. Some of your favorite nostalgia games. How do you think nostalgia may have helped or ruined games that you play now? Things like that. Sorry, there is about a 30-second delay, so hopefully you stick around to actually hear us say hi. But no, so if you just want to bring up some games that you think that are fantastic nostalgia... we need to do I need to do more of the Raspberry Pi retro gaming, the emulator, because nostalgia, doing that whole entire watching the whole Crash Bandicoot thing like that, it's just been kind of fantastic. And are there any games that you didn't get to play as a kid that you want to play now that you think may still be fun?
I kind of went through a phase where I actually went and did that, where I just was like, wow, I didn't play a lot of these games. Well, let's go do it. So I did. I played most of them. There aren't a lot of games that are like that now because I've actually gone through a backlog and done that. A lot of them are though like PlayStation 1 games, and they're typically like fighting games or PlayStation 2
fighting
games.
games don't hold.
Yeah,
a lot of those fighting games don't hold up today.
Oh yeah, they do.
Really?
They're still really good.
I heard Tekken, like some of the Tekken games.
Oh, Tekken's like I mean graphically it doesn't hold up at all. But like some of these old like Capcom fighters or SNK fighters, like King of Fighters and whatnot, those old ones are really good. Like King of Fighters 98, still probably one of the best ones. I don't really like 13 as much, but King of Fighters 98 is solid. And well, 13's probably the best one since 98, but 98 is still the best. And then like Capcom versus SNK, Marvel versus Capcom, Marvel versus Capcom 2, especially Marvel versus Capcom 2, really good game. Like probably one of the biggest like fighting game rosters ever too. It's got like 50, 60 characters in it, and it's just, I mean, sure, it's like reused sprites for most of the characters, but it's awesome.
Like Venom and Spider-Man are...
Well, they're completely different characters in that one, but they're even sprites are different, but they like the character sprites that they reused were from like prior Marvel vs. Capcom games or Marvel games that Capcom had made.
And then, yeah.
So they just used the same sprites and then just added some new animations, and that was it. But yeah, it's a pretty solid game. I like fighting games a lot, and even Street Fighter V like have all the throwbacks to like Street Fighter 3 with even some like with how reused like gi is all torn and whatnot, because that's how it looked in Street Fighter 3. So it's kind of going back to that. That's cool.
But nostalgia's I think a pretty good thing.
Absolutely.
I need to go back and play. But are there any games that you've gone back and played that are just did not hold up? Like you had like some really good fond memories of, and then now you're just like, that was a terrible game.
Let's go back to the Dreamcast era. There was some games called Sonic Adventure and Sonic Adventure 2. I love those games as a kid.
Is that the one that we were watching the other day on Game Grumps?
Yeah. So that one, yeah, like that game I've revisited. I have it, and I just remember it being like just a really good game. I really liked it. I was like, oh yeah, the story was pretty good, and you play through the levels, and then I've gone back to it, and I was like, oh shit, this was awful on every level. It was pretty bad, and so I don't know what had me so biased. Maybe it's because I just loved Sonic games. Like I had Sega Genesis.
You were that primer you used where like nothing could go wrong.
Yeah. Yeah, like it was like I loved the old school games, and then just watching this game, it's just it's ugly. Like there's all this shitty animation. There's like you fall through the stage like everywhere. Like you can just anywhere you can think of, you can fall through the stage.
Terrible acting. Tails.
Yeah.
Are you alright?
The voice acting is so hit or miss. Like I like Eggman. I like how Eggman sounds. It sounds good. But
no. Okay, I will be nostalgia critic right here. It's Dr. Robotnik. I am sorry. I hate when they... in Adventure they like refer him to that, but yeah, it's always like that's how I was at first, but like now I just don't even care. I'm just like whatever is Eggman in Adventure, and then there's Dr. Robotnik in the old school games. So either way, it's the same dude. Yeah, I mean it's still pretty good. One thing, one of the games I tried to go back and play was Spyro 2, and I about puked. Like I forgot how bad like that game. Crash Bandicoot still holds up. There are some issues I have like with some of the controls. They're not always like the most responsive, but they're still just a very fun game to still play and things like that. I'm trying to think of some other games that really didn't hold up too well. Jet Moto. I tried to go play. You ever like when I was a kid? Man, that was like the one. It's the hover bike racing game.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Some old racing games don't hold up very well these days because everything's so responsive. Like that's one thing they've constantly improved on. Like some games have gotten like worse. Like platformers, I think have kind of just suffered over the long run. Yeah,
I've noticed that new platformers that harken back to old platformers are the ones that generally do better because those ones are tight. Like you look at Super Mario World, like that's a really solid game. And so you see new platformers that, or even like Mega Man. Mega Man's solid, and they didn't use a whole lot of resources to make it. So like they go and make like a game like Shovel Knight, and it's like
same exact thing.
Super tight, good. Super good, responsive, and like those are the best kinds of games. Like just simple and fun.
Never have to worry about like too much of the things.
Yep. Pretty much none of that online gaming and just play the game.
Are there any games today that you think you're gonna still be at that are gonna have some nostalgic value
in the future?
In the future.
That's the thing is I don't think there's gonna be very many of those.
You think there are gonna be a lot of games just because they produce them so much
here's
these
the
days.
thing, something I've noticed, and this is just me, but a lot of those 3D games, a lot of the games that have come out in the past, and maybe this is just me, but like the stuff that I remember, and the stuff that I grew up with, and the stuff that I feel is stuck around, like Sonic, like Mega Man, like Mario, those are the games that I still like. You know, I still remember. But like there were games like in PlayStation 2 era that I just totally forgot, like Ratchet and Clank and Jack and Daxter. Like that Jack and Daxter's is like completely forgotten. Like
they were still good games though. I mean, they're not bad
not
games.
They were
at all.
bad. Like. And I think they did re-release an HD collection for probably both of those recently. But like I feel they feel so forgotten, and those might be kind of the last leg of the nostalgia, because like I don't see any games this era that I'm going to be like, oh yeah, Dark Souls. I think Dark Souls. Like,
I think
is probably as close as we'll get.
I think Uncharted's gonna.
Uncharted. Potentially. Yeah. I mean that game bugs me in a weird way because it's not as much of a like I like it, but it's not like a game.
It's not a game. It's more of a movie.
It's like a movie and a cover shooter, I guess.
I think Batman Arkham Knight. Not Arkham Knight. I think Arkham City is going to be one of those games that
that's true.
Is going to be nostalgic.
Which is weird because it's like a comic book game. There's not a lot of those.
But it's
I think back to my childhood and like I had an X-Men game or an X-Men and Spider-Man on Sega Genesis, but like that game was kind of dumb and I could barely play through it.
I think Call of Duty, unfortunately. I shouldn't say unfortunately.
Well, it's gonna be remembered, but like.
But is it gonna be nostalgia?
Well, yeah.
Maybe not for you, but again,
for me, like, yeah, I don't see it. But
I know people harken back to it already because the thing is that the one thing.
Remember when this happened? But like the mechanics are so like there's so many of them that it's like, oh yeah, remember when they did this kill streak or some shit? And it's like that.
Well, here's the thing. The first person community, the one that constantly gets brought up is Modern Warfare 2. People still have nostalgia for that game. I don't have nostalgia for it. I have nostalgia for World at War. But if you talk to people like in the first person shooter community, like Vishtega, I bet if he was on today, he probably could agree with that. A lot of people still talk about Modern Warfare 2. Counter-Strike is constantly going to have that nostalgia, especially with Half-Life. That is like good old PC nostalgia, like things like that.
Yeah, and maybe that's where I my relation dropped because I was a total like console pleb as a kid. I never did the PC gaming until recently, until like 5 years ago. So
Steam is a nostalgia generating machine.
Good old games, man. Good old games is
like,
bringing all the old PC games back.
That's
what I've been actually interested in lately too. Thinking about going back and revisiting old games was like the old PC games that I never actually played. There's a lot of like text adventure games or games like Diablo 1 and 2.
I want to play those.
That I never really had gone back to or never really played much of. And now that I have a PC that can play those games, you know, because back then, like, we had this, like, Windows 98 PC that wouldn't play StarCraft.
Back then when I thought deleting items on my computer would increase my RAM.
Right. And it might have because of all simple...
My dad got so pissed at me. He's like, you don't delete that. It's not... I know better now. I'm not. That was like when I was like 6, and you just like.
You start clicking around and like, oh.
Oops! There goes the operating system.
Yep. Awesome.
But I think that's just gonna be like one thing. What is Good Old Games? I haven't heard of it.
Good Old Games. It's like Steam, but they drop older games. They also sponsor like The Witcher. They do The Witcher's releases and stuff, but. Their focus is to bring back older PC games or re-release them so you can run them on Windows 7 or the current PC operating system. It's pretty cool. So they recently they did the Star Wars games They went to GOG first before they went to Steam. So little things like that, pretty cool.
I think I'm gonna just have to do stuff like that because I still have. There's a lot of good games. Like if you want a good nostalgia game, I know Black Mesa was trying to do an update version of Half-Life 1. But I think honestly, you should just go play Half-Life 1.
Play Half-Life 1.
It's still a pretty.
I do have it. I do have Half-Life 1. I've never played it.
Oh, it's a good solid game.
I played 2. I like 2. 2 is good.
One's pretty good though too. Like I think the thing is that if people are gonna want a good nostalgia these days, they have to focus on the core mechanics. Mm-hmm. And I think the problem is with video games these days is that so many constantly come out. Like back in the day, they weren't constantly like. Well, I guess that's not true because Atari almost single-handedly almost killed the video game industry.
You can't. Yeah, I mean, like you can't sit there like. So like I was thinking about this today too. Like I was watching Markiplier. He's famous on YouTubes and stuff. I was watching him play Five Nights at Freddy's, which like is a game I've never even seen before. I just like, he got famous for this. Let's see why he likes it. I watched it's the new one, the Five Nights at Freddy's 4, I think.
Is that out yet?
Yeah, it just came out recently, and so Markiplier's just started posting his playthroughs, and so as I was watching those, I just realized like the mechanics in that game are completely new. Like that is, maybe it's not 100% new, but it's like because it's like totally just a balancing game where it's like you gotta make sure this is good or make sure this is good, but it's done in such a way that it's like I don't know, it's just different. Like you don't see a lot of games like that where it's like the thing that's like keeping you from doing the wrong thing is the jump scare. If you do something wrong, you get a jump scare, so you're like, fuck, I better not do something wrong. I do not want that fucking
which adds more to the jump
creepy
scare.
ass fucking face. Yeah, and it just only makes it like escalates, and now you're playing the game in fucking terror, and you're hoping that you just don't get the jump scare, and it fucking happens again, and you're just like, oh my god, and you see Markiplier just freaking the fuck out. It's pretty hilarious, and I was like, oh, this is why people watch this. It's pretty funny. But I don't know if I don't know if I like games like that, but it's interesting. It's very interesting gameplay design though, and that's something
that's already establishing nostalgia.
Yeah.
Really, really quickly.
Mm-hmm. Well, what's weird is like I think within the past 2 years they've released 4 games. Like they're releasing these like non-stop, and they're pretty expensive if I remember. Like they were like $15 a piece on Steam, so it's
he's making tons of money off this.
That's solid. Like that's if you can keep pumping out. It's like Paranormal Activity. Like you keep pumping out a new one every year, and people are going awesome.
Why not?
Yeah, why not? Your budget can increase as you go, and people love it. I don't get it. I'm not a huge horror fan, but.
I can understand it.
I totally see where the market's at, and
the whole jump scare thing is really good. Unfortunately, I think the problem is that when they start doing stuff like that, like companies can end up really ruining the nostalgia.
What's interesting with like Five Nights at Freddy's though, is there's this lore. There's this like creepy like conspiracy theories, and it's not because like of how they tell the story in it. It's so like.
There's not enough to it, so people start making up things.
Yeah, there's tons of stuff left out. There's like, oh, what is actually going on here? And so people have these conspiracy theories. There's all this like, I was reading the Wikipedia page on it, and I was like, holy shit, this has got all this convoluted shit going on in it. And people are like looking at little things in the rooms, and like
they're constantly looking at things that don't mean anything and making things that making meaning out of it where no meaning to be found.
Yeah, I mean, I can't confirm or deny any of the conspiracy theories, but yeah, there's like some crazy shit there.
So it's funny though, cool. Like how they just kind of do that stuff.
But like when you do that, it's like that's viral marketing at its best. Like that's what sells games, and that's why that game is so popular.
Yeah, that's something that kind of just creates its. That's another thing that kind of helps create nostalgia is kind of leaving things out because people are constantly just kind of referring back to what about this, what about that kind of thing. And the only problem is though, I think the problem is with Five Nights at Freddy's though is that it can really easily degrade the market really quick.
I think it's getting oversaturated.
Well, because Activision is really bad at doing stuff like that. I'm really glad that they haven't like forced Blizzard ever since they bought Blizzard.
Well, they didn't buy Blizzard.
They didn't buy.
It was a combined
combined effort.
They were like, hey, let's join forces and work together to to make video games or just to have a bigger pool of money to draw from. I'm assuming it was just more is a partnership.
Oh, wow.
So now they're called Activision Blizzard. That's the full name
Okay, I thought
of the company. It's Activision Blizzard.
I thought it was more of a total buyout. I guess.
It wasn't. They just partnered up to work together and dominate the gaming market, and then they bought Bungie. So like they were like, yep, we're gonna do it now because we've got all this. We've got some of the biggest heavy hitters. The guys who made Halo. That we've got.
That's actually another example where I think nostalgia kind of kills a lot of the new games because Halo 2. Mm-hmm. No, is it Halo 2? That's the big one that kind of like. I just know there's just some Halo games. Where
Halo 2 is what I got into in high school. That was the one that was like really popular. That's because Halo, like, it usually is number 2 because like people are like, I played
heard
number
so much
1,
like...
and number 1 was great, and then you start hearing that word of mouth, and so by the time it kind of gets around to everybody, they're ready to release the second game. And the first one was great. Like I remember playing that on PC because I actually had a PC release, and that was a good one.
Fantastic. Like that was actually one of the things that's kind of one thing that where nostalgia kind of ruined something for me. Like I played Halo 1, but then all of a sudden when 2 came on, everybody was jumping on that nostalgia train like, oh, I want to get part of this, and I was kind of like, you guys are just like sheep. You're following this because everybody else is talking good about it.
I know, 2's really good.
No, I'm not.
Yeah, for sure.
That was one thing that was like when I was going through like when this Halo was kind of being crazy, I was kind of going through that anti like popular kind of craze.
Yeah.
Just like, oh, you guys just constantly like things like that. And I think Bungie's a really good developer, and they tend to actually. I think Bungie, one thing that's kind of hurting Bungie is that they kind of do too much to the nostalgia, especially with the way their mechanics do. It's like if you played Destiny recently, it plays a lot like an old Halo game.
That was kind of like something that I noticed. There were some Halo-y things that it did, but it wasn't 100% Halo. But like the weapons totally felt like Halo to me for some reason. It just like was like, oh. But I don't know if that was just because like my brain is associating it that way, or if it's literally just because they're the same developer and they're just making it the same way. It could be.
Are there anything? We talked mostly about video games. Are there any like good movies that you kind of have like a nostalgia fix for things like that? Like I know a lot of people have like a good nostalgia fix for like
the
Donnie.
Super Mario Bros. Movie is like the best movie of all time, and I had a huge nostalgia.
Actually, no, I do because
I actually do because I watched it as a kid a lot, but.
Like as a kid, you're kind of just like it's not Super Mario Brothers like
no,
but as a kid, it's its own.
But
thing.
It doesn't ruin it because like Super Mario Brothers is so ambiguous. It doesn't matter. Like
it was its own thing.
Yeah.
I honestly didn't like. Okay, this is probably nostalgia speaking. When I watched it as a kid, I loved the movie. I didn't think it was a bad.
But that's
movie.
the thing is like when you watch it for like as a kid or like from that perspective, you watch it without judgment. You don't judge it. You just like you see what's fun and you're like that's fun. Oh look that's the bomb. That's awesome. That's in the game. I remember when you can do that. Oh okay, so now they have to have jumping boots to jump really high. Okay, that's weird. That's not like the game, but whatever. It wasn't like the game from the start, but.
One thing that can actually like I think Star Trek, the new Star Trek movies had a lot of nostalgia opposition. Because when we were with reviews versus the world, Brady was talking about how he hates Star Trek.
The Star Trek.
The original series. He doesn't think it's that good of a series.
Right.
But then he goes and watches movies and he thinks the movies are better. But the problem is that majority of the Star Trek fans are like, no, this is terrible, blah, 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 blah. Yeah. And that's an example when nostalgia can actually ruin your view and take on stuff, like we were talking about 10-2 earlier. Because 10 was, from what I could see, was not a bad game. It was just people were just like...
Yeah, that's the way I see it. Like, I mean, granted, like... I was pretty young when I played Final Fantasy X for the first time, and like I think one thing that really appealed to me as a child, and like when I think back on it, was like visuals. And one thing that Final Fantasy X did really well at its time was visuals. Like that game was one of the visually the best looking games.
Actually, the only thing I remember from the 10 series is the 10-2 opening.
Yeah.
Because of how
I love how like it did like when it did the FMVs or whatever, the pre-animated cutscenes where they went into like you see the hair like, and it wasn't like, even though he kind of had this anime person hair, it was like real, like it looked like you could actually touch it and it would like have texture to it, like it was really cool. But yeah, like that was something that appealed to me as a kid. So I really liked games for surface value, like just because of like, oh, it looked good.
Actually,
that was a huge reason why I would judge a game. Like
Metal Gear 2 is actually where I kind of got that, because I would honestly pull up Metal Gear 2 as a kid.
Mhm.
I would insert that in, and I would let the preview play over and over and over again, because I just remember watching the beautiful glory that was the Metal Gear 2, because I just remember thinking it was such a realistic game.
I'm trying to think of like the cutscenes from that game. Yeah, okay.
It's especially when they're like they kind of just
that game
doing,
does look pretty good.
it still looks good today.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I did.
No, that engine's pretty solid. The Metal Gear Solid 2 engine's pretty sweet.
One thing is, like, I know a lot of people are gonna hate this, the new Metal Gear 5. This is another example of nostalgia, kind of like.
I love Metal Gear games because it's get a box.
No, but it's like a lot of the voice actor, David Hayter, is not in the. I know. I can just every time I bring the topic up, it just Rob just goes.
It kills me. It kills me. Every time.
And I try not to let my nostalgia ruin things, because it's gotten to the point where if you let your nostalgia kind of just get the better of things, because memories, if you have a good memory of something, whether it was good or not, because the thing is that we always remember things different than they actually happen now.
Yep.
Something that we remember could be good can be actually really shitty.
Yep.
And I think that's the one thing I've been trying to really do, is especially nowadays, especially as, like, they want Hollywood video games wanting to introduce the people to what they liked, is not to get so much on the nostalgia. Well, this isn't blah 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 kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because everybody could have done that with Mad Max easily.
Yeah.
Because Road Warrior was just such a kind of an odd high standard. But things is that you just kind of you can have to just sit back and let things and just enjoy them for what they are.
Yeah, that's true.
Nostalgia will always be good. It will always be in my heart, but I think people shouldn't let it ruin what's out today.
But at the same time, I think you got to look.
It's still a good judgment.
It is a good thing to look back at what originally made video games good. Sometimes it's good to go back to your roots and draw from that to kind of get yourself back in the groove. Because like if your game, like this is the problem with the Sonic games now, is if you look at like Sonic Boom, the most recent offender of shitty Sonic games, was awful. It doesn't have anything to do with like what a Sonic game was. It was like, hey, let's incorporate all these mechanics, and we don't know what the fuck it is, but it's just gonna be a Sonic game. We're gonna call it Sonic. But it was just all this random shit that they put together with Sonic and his friends, and there you go. Whereas like Sonic Generations, when they went and remade that, or when they made that game, where it's like, okay, we're gonna go harken back to these old Sonic levels, we're gonna remake them with a new Sonic and the old Sonic, and give you kind of a new twist on it, and it was a really good game. I mean, the story was kind of cheesy and dumb, but like you didn't care about that because like you played it for the nostalgia factor, and that, you know, these levels are like what you remembered, or like the music is what you remembered. Like the music is so important to me. Anyway, like when I hear like a remixed version of a song, or like an old song that is like, oh yes, I remember that from my childhood. That Zelda song I've listened to a million times. You know, I know it very well, and so it's really cool to hear it here. Or whatever, you know. And so like with that Sonic Generations, come back to that, but like it was a pretty good Sonic game, and I was like, okay, Sega's in the right direction now. They're going to make a good Sonic game after this. They're going to make an original quality Sonic game, and then they released Sonic Boom.
You know what?
Fucked up.
You know who I think is held to the highest nostalgia standards though, and I think it's the reason why they haven't put out very many games, is Valve. Valve has a hard time putting out games because they're constantly competing with that nostalgia hype. Is your friends messing with you?
I don't know who Pixel Boy is, but anyway,
it's
Pixel Boys. Hey, welcome to the stream though. We're kind of getting ready to wrap up, but yeah, welcome to the stream.
If you haven't one of the last minute things, the topic today was nostalgic love.
Talking about nostalgic games and what we love about those. And movies too, a little bit of that.
Yeah, we're kind of
all over the place.
Things
whatever, conversational. But yeah.
This Anchorman is a white boy, by the way.
Yeah.
Pixel boy.
Yeah, he is a white boy. Sometimes you know where he lives. Sometimes you do.
I know where he lives. His apartment has many leather-bound books and smells of rich mahogany.
Absolutely.
But I think that's pretty much
that's
a wrap
all
up.
I've got.
Unless Pixel Boy wants to
Any
add more to
last thoughts.
add more to the
from the
conversation. We always like this is the time where we kind of turn it over to the chat, anyways. If the chat would like to continue it on, I mean, I think we should probably give it a few seconds. We do have a stream schedule.
Yeah,
listed below.
Absolutely. Yeah, check out our stream schedule. You'll see me and TJ will stream once per week.
Generally, multiple times we have the.
Yeah, so we'll usually we'll do a show that's dedicated to me. Or first we'll start with TJ on Tuesday, I believe.
I won't be on. I might not be on this Tuesday, but
yeah,
if I am,
usually we'll do like the TJ will do his show where he
if not Rob
plays whatever game he's into. And then on Saturday, I will be on here playing the RPGs and whatever.
Actually, most of
the into.
Most games we play are actually nostalgic at this point.
Yeah,
because I've actually harkened back to a lot of the good old games. Like Pixel Boy just asked what games we like. I like a lot of the good old first-person shooters. I'm a big World War II guy. But like one thing that's very nostalgic for me is Far Cry 2, because it's just this mechanic. I like Dead Space, things like that. So when it comes to the personality, Rob's more of the RPG guy. Yep. He kind of likes all that Blizzard Diablo stuff. I'm more of the action-oriented guy. I like the first-person shooters. Doesn't mean we won't like dabble with back and forth.
I mean, I dabble with all games, but mostly I stay into the. Oh yeah, that penis is so big. Mostly I stay into I jack off to fantasy lore and dragons. And
I didn't even see it as that. I just saw. I guess my mind's not very dirty because I was like, I just saw an 8. I was
that is the classic penis that I've known and loved from the internet.
Now that you say it, I saw it, but my first thought was like, what the hell is the number 8? I guess I wasn't like
8 equals D is classic. I've known that since like middle school. Like it's like
boobs.
That's how penis started.
WTF. Yes, yeah, WTF. Absolutely. Like, I have no idea. I guess I don't. I never really picked up on that whole entire, like, stuff, things like that. But no, mostly, you can always, like, another thing that we like to do is we also love user participation. I play on the PlayStation 4. We've had a lot of guys on this. Actually, a lot of guys that follow this channel have actually picked me up on Battlefield Hardline, and we've actually played on the PlayStation 4. We also like to. If you got a Steam account, we'll pick you up on Steam.
Absolutely, yeah.
So just kind of hit us up.
Just hit us up. Like you can message us here or wherever you find us. Facebook too works.
You can follow us that way if you like some of the games. If you have suggestions about games you'd like us to play, we're always constantly open for that.
Yeah, absolutely. We're still kind of new to everything, so yeah.
Jacking off to dragons. Is that
the fuck? He didn't. He's pretty offended by me talking about drinking.
Have you even gotten to the part where you can make out on a unicorn in Witcher 3?
I haven't yet. No, I haven't. I haven't played Witcher 3.
You disappoint me, Jessica.
I haven't played Witcher 3 in like 2-3 weeks.
How much did you pay for that game? Well, you didn't pay for it. You got the new graphics card, right?
No, I didn't get a new graphics card. I would love to. I just paid $60 for it, but I've been playing it here and there. It's not like it's a game that just requires a lot of time and dedication when I go to play it. Like when I play it, I'm gonna spend 3 or 4 hours on this.
Start, like
I can't sit down and play it for like 1 to 2. I literally have to sit down and play it for 2-3 because like 1 hour gets me like partway through a quest, and it's just not enough. So I have to block out a lot of time if I'm gonna hop into Witcher 3, because like what happens is I hop in and then I forget, and then like I play like 1 hour or whatever.
Are there dragons in that game?
Forget what happens the next time I get to it.
Because Pixel Boy likes jacking off. I mean, he might like to see you jacking off.
Jacking off to dragons, just like me. Yeah, we have so much in common, man.
You know what I want to do if we can get enough people? I would love to do a Telltale walkthrough of The Walking Dead 1 and just have like viewer choice and see how bad I can fuck everybody up.
Yeah, if it didn't time your choices. Does The Walking Dead time your choices?
It does time your choices, but if I can get enough people to like constantly like
spam the chat,
yeah. Like A, B.
I just don't know, like that with the 30-second delay
Mark.
from Twitch. Yes, thanks for following Pixel Boy.
Oh, hi, Mark.
Oh, hi, Mark. It's my
Dude,
favorite. The Room is the best.
We need to highlight that point where I got fucking freaked out. Like, I forgot.
What?
Dude, remember the first time that came up? I didn't even know you had set that up. And I was like,
Gotcha.
freaking scared the hell out of me.
But thanks for following again, Pixel Boy. That's awesome.
We hope to see you in the future. We're gonna actually probably end it tonight.
Keep posting.
Follow YouTube channel, Twitter, Twitch.
Follow us on YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, Facebook, wherever you can find us. Hit us up if you want to play games with us. Like I said, I play RPGs. I play the Blizzard games quite a bit. So if you want to play with me, hit us a message up and I can give you my battle tag. Otherwise, if you want to play with TJ, hit him up on here and ask for a Steam ID or something. We can play with you on Steam. But anyway, we're gonna wrap this up unless there's any final thoughts.
Oh, what you're doing? Okay, YouTube channel. Before we YouTube is Thearly Clinking. It's just
look up Thearly Clinking.
Actually, if you go to the right side,
below or wherever on Twitch.
We have buttons.
It can be in multiple places.
There are buttons below.
Whatever. Yeah, the buttons in our profile description should link you to YouTube. But yeah, if you search Thearly Clinking on YouTube, you're more than likely gonna find us.
We need to do some walkthroughs. When Mad Max finally comes out, I'm gonna actually do a full walkthrough because I think the problem is
the Mad Max game.
Yeah,
we need to do a full playthrough of the game finally and finish one.
I think the thing is that the reason why I'm going to do it is because the problem is that a lot of the games we like to play, people don't search for anymore. Like, if I did like a Far Cry 2 walkthrough, nobody would ever watch it because...
I'm sure someone would, but yeah, like, it just depends. But yeah, like, if you pick up a game, we just need to start... Yeah, we'll definitely... We're working on some YouTube content, so it should be pretty cool.
Yeah.
Anyway, but we're going to wrap this up. Thanks for watching. You guys have a nice day.